All right, mates, welcome back. JL Scott Fishing. We're going to talk Potomac River, KBF Potomac River Trail Stop Series, April 29th and 30th out of Aquia Landing in Stafford County, Virginia. That is where the captain's, or I guess the headquarters for the event is going to be. But I wanted to update a few folks. I got a bunch of questions that hit my box in the last few days after a couple other videos. Hopefully you check out the Potomac River breakdown series on the YouTube channel where I'm breaking down the Potomac River, my experiences on the Potomac River from up in D.C. at the 14th Street Bridge Complex all the way down to Anshaboy Creek. It should be done probably by around the 10th of April. We'll have finished the whole breakdown series. Keep in mind, KBF has new rules this season in terms of off-limits periods. I understand there's been a lot of pushback from that, and again, I don't know. It's like balls and strikes, man. Like, I know people wanted new rules, more clarification on rules. You know, sometimes a minority is the loudest voice in a lot of these things, but now you have some clubs that aren't really following. You even have KBF clubs that aren't going to follow the off-limits periods. They're going to kind of pick and choose and cherry pick which rules are going to be followed and not followed. You know, that's up to the clubs. But as an angler, you need to make sure that you're aware of which rules are going to be in place, especially if you're double dipping. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So you've got Kayak Bass Fishing Trail Stop, Potomac River. Okay, that is a 2-day event, but it's 2 one-day events, okay? 2 days, did I say that right? It's a Saturday event and a Sunday event. So it's 2 events with 2 registrations, $125 per day to register. You could also do the $100 double up Dakota Lithium, I think. Okay? So you're basically competing in 2 events over 2 days. Okay? Now, there are local and regional clubs that are also scheduling events on the Potomac River within the same boundaries in conjunction with KBF, as well as just events scheduled, I think, in the fishery that aren't aligned with KBF necessarily. I think there's one. There's also, keep in mind, mates, okay, this is April, and this is the Potomac River. And so there will be 2 boating tournaments on the Potomac River on Saturday, April 29th. Okay? Sunday, I'm not aware of any tournaments on Sunday. But on Saturday, there are 2 boating events on the river, April 29th, that already have close to 80 to 85 each in terms of registrations, from what I've been told. So keep that in mind. It's a big fishery, mates. So most of the time, I'll look and find out, but most of the time, the boating events, the regional clubs, the smaller clubs, on April 29th, the MLF, which is obviously national, is on the Upper Bay. They're not on the Potomac. So these are local regional boating clubs. And they normally either launch from Leesylvania on the Virginia side, State Park, or they launch from Smallwood and Mattawoman on the Maryland side. So 2 state parks, Maryland, Virginia. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. Okay, when you're thinking about that weekend and being out there. Your local club series that are scheduled events that I am aware of, and if there are additional ones, because there are some new series starting this year that I haven't really tapped into yet. I'm trying to get more information on a few of them. Is you have NVKBA, Northern Virginia Kayak Bass Anglers. They are an ambassador club to KBF. They're scheduling an event on Saturday, the 29th. Okay, so keep in mind that event registration is also on Fishing Chaos, just like KBF is. But you've got to register for that event separately. That registration is $45, I think, are their events. And a lot of the local and regional trails, this is something that I've kind of have not really understood about some of the pushback that's happening right now in the kayak fishing community regarding required memberships to fish KBF. And I don't really know what that's all about. I've gotten like 4 messages this morning about that. But most local clubs require you to be a member in order to participate as well. Not just KBF. I know other trails like Hobie and Bassmaster may not require you to be members of anything. You don't have to be a member of Bass Nation, I don't think, to fish a Bassmaster kayaking event. I could be wrong on that. If I am, please correct me. Hobie, there's no membership, I don't think, but they're not clubs. Okay, they're not clubs. They're like event series. So KBF is a little bit different. It's structured different and always has been, because it's from a grassroots perspective. People need to understand that. A lot of people compare Hobie, KBF, and Bass. It's apples and oranges, mates. They're not even at all comparable. I mean, they all have their strengths and they all have their weaknesses, like any other business. Some prefer one, other people prefer another. Some prefer the grassroots aspects, a beginner and individualism of challenge series for KBF. Some people prefer the highly competitive, elite, competition of like a Hobie. It really is apples and oranges, okay? People box them all together, and it's just not, really productive for the community. And also, they don't all come to the same places. Like KBF is really, KBF has been coming to the Potomac for years now. Hobie had been coming to Susquehanna and decided not to schedule Susquehanna in the region this year. I do believe they're scheduling up in New York. They've scheduled one event up in the Northeast. Just one event in the Northeast, mates. And so that has set a lot of people back, believe it or not. Doesn't mean they're going to be public about it, but it does mean that they're going to be back channeling messaging people and being upset about it, because the largest centric of population density in the United States is between Washington, D.C. and Boston. Okay? It's only one event. Bass, only one event. And that would be Susquehanna in October. So a lot of people are kind of like, again, there's a lot of stuff going down right now in the community. There's a lot of friction. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of back judgment. There's a lot of stuff that the community needs to get past. And it's tough to get past it. I had messages last night from mates, from local series and local clubs, Had a message last night, a copy of a letter sent to me where an angler is being refunded and banned from fishing a regional northeastern regional club because of free speech, because of his opinions about stuff. Man, in that case, no one's going to let me fish. No one's ever going to let me fish their trail. I mean, that's what podcasting is all about. That's what reporting is all about. That's what information exchange is all about. It's to create a dialogue. It's to create conversation. It's to grow and make things better. I mean, it's not like, I don't try to use the platform, but, people need to wake up and to understand that people are out there wanting information about these local events. They want to know who's running these local events. They want to know, are the people running these events trustworthy? Are they sincere? Are they in it for the greater good? Are they fishing their own tournaments? Are they judging their own fish? Are they doing these different things? So, and that's where people like me and other people in the community that are on podcasts or have YouTube channels or do information exchanges, that's kind of like what we do. We try to figure it out. We're not out to tear anybody down. We're not out to burn anybody or all that, stuff that gets done. It's to inform people, to make people aware that they're a consumer. Fortunately, we're afforded the opportunity in the Mid-Atlantic area to have really good, solid clubs that are run by people that are accessible and transparent. You've got Mike at NVKBA that's always available to answer any questions that runs that organization. You've got William and Aaron with MAKBF. And the merger with them and the Delaware Paddle Sports that are always there for information to provide you that are there. It's folks, it's the people that aren't out in front. It's the people that you don't see. It's the people that aren't willing in the community to put their face to their work, right? That you need to be cautious about in terms of a lot of this stuff. That you don't see at all until a 5-minute captain's meeting or something. Or they're unavailable to answer questions, or they refuse to answer questions. They refuse to answer questions about judging. They refuse to answer questions about payouts. They refuse to answer questions. Those are all kinds of things you need to factor in. Fortunately, in the DMV, we've got some great clubs with great people. It's been my experience that have always answered any question that I've ever had. I've always gotten back to me really quick. Doesn't mean they've agreed with everything that I have said, and of course not. And I wouldn't expect them to agree with everything that I've said on my channel about different topics and different events. But that's how it goes. It has to be a respectful dialogue in the community. But they I hope understand that when the shit hits the fan, I'm going to have their back because they do it right. I'm not going to quick judgment something, without sending a message and talking to them about, and a lot of that's what's going on. That's why I'm doing this video. So there's been a lot. I got 6 messages last night, texts and Facebook messages on whether the Potomac event was going to happen or not for KBF because of what happened in Michigan this week. And that's a reasonable question for people to have. Okay, it is, because they don't know the information, the transparency, all of those things. I don't think the person from MKT, the person running that trail series, the Michigan Kayak Trail, has come out publicly with a video, like putting a face to what their position is. It was, from what I understand, simply a post, in their group for their membership. But you have to understand, there are a lot of other anglers in KBF nationally that were planning on making that trip. Like, we're planning to go to Lake Erie and fish. They're not in that local club's chat or private group to know, like, okay, what's going on. So a lot of people just shoot messages. So that's why I'm doing this video, to clarify some things. The Potomac event is going down as of today, April 29th, April 30th for KBF. NVKBA is having their event on April 29th. It is a $45 registration fee for that event on Fishing Chaos. I believe it's a $30 membership that you may have to pay in order to fish in that series as well, to fish in their event. I'm not sure if there's a double dip exemption for out-of-town people. I'm not really sure on that. You can contact Mike, NVKBA group and page on Facebook. And then you have MAKBF. So MAKBF is Mid-Atlantic Kayak Bass Fishing. They merged this year with the Delaware Paddle Sports Kayak Series, combining the two from Delaware and Maryland. They're having an event 2 days, 29th and 30th. Now, there is right now an ongoing survey for anglers to determine whether or not anglers want that to be a 2-day event or 2 single-day events. Because you got to remember, a lot of these clubs have AOI point considerations. They've got a lot of other stuff that goes on. So that's up to those clubs. But I believe they are going to follow the on the water KBF rules. What does that mean? Some clubs, and I am not sure, I know NVKBA is not following the off-limits period of the KBF stated rules for events, which means you're going to be allowed to fish up until the 28th of April until 4 o'clock for NVKBA. Okay? I am not aware of what the off-limits period is for MAKBF. That would be a question for William or Aaron on the MAKBF Facebook page or their Mid-Atlantic Kayak Bass Fishing group that you can join if you're interested in that. Whether they're following the KBF full... Now, the KBF off-limits period, mates, begins April 8th and ends April 22nd. So from April 8th to April 22nd, you cannot be fishing on the Potomac within the... As far as I'm aware, within the boundaries of the event. Now, I am not trying to skirt rules. I am not trying to, tell you to skirt rules. That is not my deal. That's not my shtick. I'm not into that. But I am aware of people who, in the past, have fished above the I-495 bridge during off-limits periods. Okay? We all are aware of people who have violated rules. Doesn't matter if it's Hobie on the Susquehanna. Doesn't matter whether it's people launching in private places on Lake Murray from docks, or on the Susquehanna from private land, or in Kentucky Lake, or anywhere else. It happens. There are people that will skirt the rules, okay? So just be aware of that. Don't fall into that trap, okay? Make sure that you get all the information that you can at your disposal to make sure you're aligned with what the rules are, okay? And it's important that you do that so you don't get caught up in what always happens with people, especially here, okay? Not so much the Mid-Atlantic, but the Northeast, where people are always like trying to like worry about what everybody else is doing, okay? And then trying after the fact not protest, not file a complaint, go to social media and just take pictures of people and post on social media to try and defame people. That's kind of a Northeast thing, okay? We've seen it happen. I'll get into that in another video when I cover a club series up in the Northeast that is absolutely doing a disservice to the entire kayak fishing community with the way their leadership is acting, because it's not conducive and beneficial for the entire community. But that's another story. But that is the Potomac River, okay? Update for April 29th. KBF, event. NVKBA, event, double dip. MAKBF, event, double dip. Again, make sure whether or not you have to join membership in order to fish those events if you're coming from out of state, okay? I'm just not really sure if you have to do that for a one-day event. There's an exemption and such for those events. So you want to reach out to them. You want to make sure that you understand the rules that have been stated. The KBF 21 days out rule, whether or not the double dips are going to follow that. I know NVKBA is not, but I'm not sure about MAKBF, and I think there's one other series that's trying to get an event scheduled for that. And make sure that you're well within the rules. You know what the rules are. There have been rules changes. And make sure you get registered up, okay? And show out. Because in order for these trails to return, mates, everybody needs to get on board. Myself included. I do a podcast, do a YouTube. We've grown this channel from 900 followers to over 20,000 in the last year because of the interest that's out there in information. Fishing information, whether it's bass fishing, trout fishing, just regional information in our region, the DMV. And a lot of times, in order to do that and to cover that, I personally have wanted to stay back and not be a member and not do challenge series or monthly, but not be a competitor, because I didn't want to have to cross that line of being a competitor and then reporting on events. I wanted to be a third party, but we're starting to see these events kind of decline in registrations. And there are a number of reasons for that. But at the end of the day, these events are only as good as the people who participate in them and the willingness for people to participate in them. So if you are a member of a regional club and your club is part of the KBF family, it'd be hard-pressed to justify why you're not going to fish the Potomac River event. And this goes for all the clubs. I think Mid-Atlantic Kayak Bass Fishing is sponsoring the Native Watercraft Big Bass Power Hour on the Susquehanna in August. Be hard-pressed, if you're a member, barring obviously work and things, to not fish that event. That's the only way these events are going to continue to come back, is registrations. And in the Mid-Atlantic, let's face it, what events do we have, mates, on a national level? When we're fishing the club series, monthlies or club series. I'm going to do a monthly video here in a second, so check for that out if you're interested in the April monthlies in the region. Okay, I'll cover those. But if you're fishing a monthly, you're fishing a club event, and you want to take a step, you want to step up, right? But you don't want to travel 10, 12 hours to a Hobie event, 8, 10 hours to a bass event. Well, KBF is right here in the backyard. And if we're going to keep KBF in the backyard and maybe get a KBF event next year on the James River in Virginia, another event in Virginia, we have to get as many people registered up participating in the KBF event on the Potomac River. Okay? It starts with us and everybody that has a passion for fishing, a passion for kayak bass fishing, a passion for the Potomac River and highlighting that fishery as well as our other fisheries. And at the same time, we can promote our local and regional clubs and also promote KBF or Hobie or Bassmaster and ask the questions. Why are you not coming here, Hobie? Why are you not coming here, Bass? Bassmaster Bass Elite Series, Bass Opens come to Virginia and fish on the Potomac and fish on the James River. Why aren't you? Those are fair questions to ask Bass and to ask Hobie. Why are you not coming to Virginia and Maryland? Right? Fairness to Bass, they came to Upper Bay 2 years ago, won by Mike Iaconelli. The registrations were low. I think it was like 42. Wrong time of year to schedule the Upper Potomac with kids going back to school and vacation. That's just not the right time to schedule that fishery. Okay? You've got MLF scheduling that fishery when? In April. Right? And so when people make schedules, it's nice to be able to participate. It's nice that Bass had to sit down at Pickwick Lake with kayak anglers to right the ship for bass. I mean, kudos to them, because part of this is part of the biggest thing is to recognize when there's something awry. And if you're not willing to recognize that there's a problem, things will never change. So kudos to Bass for that and getting a lot of that information from kayak anglers at Pickwick to change the focus. Now, in our region, we need to ask the questions, why are you not coming here? What do we need to do to bring you here? What do we need to do to highlight our fisheries? To elevate our local and regional clubs that are fishing on these fisheries, okay, to bring national events. So that's the Potomac River update for April 29th. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, if I didn't get anything right, or you want to add anything, add it in the comments, or just message me, mates, text me. You got my number, Facebook page, Facebook Messenger. I'm always available. Any conversation that we have regarding anything, you will know that it's in confidence. Unless I ask for, permission to post or to release or any of those things. So understand that that's how it works. So I hope everybody's doing well. Again, pay attention for that but Potomac River Breakdown series on YouTube, and give me some feedback and let me know what you want me to cover. All right, mates.